All right, the banged up Bills do it. They go on the road and beat a Pittsburgh Steelers team pretty handedly at the end of the day. 26-7 the final on the road. Kevin Carroll, Andy Young with you for the Buffalo End Zone podcast.
Kevin, we are proudly presented by Toyota, and the Bills proudly went to Pittsburgh and pummeled the Steelers on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Andy, when you look at this game going in, the Bills dealing with a banged-up offensive line with two starters out, a couple of wide receivers out, Dalton Kincaid still out. The defense, we all know the injuries that they've been dealing with on the defensive line throughout the year. But, man, this team eventually came to play, Andy. I want to start off slow, and you and I can both agree that looking at the Bills during that first half, falling down 7-0 after two turnovers, things didn't look promising, but whatever happened at halftime, Andy, really righted the ship.
Yeah, I said during the first half or right after the end of the first half that the Bills' offense looking as bad as it did was malpractice, and that goes across the board from Brandon Beane to Sean McDermott, Joe Brady, Josh Allen, the wide receivers on down, right? It didn't look good. Now, listen, the Bills were moving the ball a couple of times there early in the first half and then shot themselves in the foot with penalties, a couple of false starts from Alec Anderson, one of those backup offensive tackles you mentioned, a couple of turnovers. Josh Allen throws a pick when he's going to Gabe Davis. James Cook fumbles the football as well, which your two best players on offense can't cough up the football. And that really slowed down the momentum. And we know that the formula for the Bills' success is to run the football. They don't want to put it in harm's way. Don't turn the football over and get timely turnovers on defense. But when you're turning the football over yourself and you play the style the Bills do, the margin for error is so slim. Now, thankfully, they were playing a Pittsburgh team that stunk on both sides of the ball, especially on offense. They were terrible. But the Bills' ground game finally got it going. I think there was a spark a little bit towards the end of the first half. You saw that play where Josh Allen got hit as he was sliding after he slid, actually. And I think that lit a fire under the team and got a spark. And they end up going down, getting a field goal. It was ugly early on, but that field goal was important because it made it 7-3. And then you move on to the second half, and we saw how things snowballed there. And then the rushing attack really continued to pace the way throughout with those backup tackles. No Deion Dawkins, no Spencer Brown. Fantastic bookend tackles for the Bills. And in step Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandemark, and they don't miss a beat. 249 rushing yards, Kevin. That's the most ever in this stadium by an opponent. Most at the Steelers by an opponent since the Bills ran for more than 300 back in 1975.
Yeah, unbelievable. I heard a little bit of Mike Tomlin's press conference after the game. He was none too impressed. Andy, there's not a lot of good to talk about from that first half. Like looking at my notes, I had down, this is the worst offensive performance I've seen since Josh Allen arrived here. It just looked so bad. There were times, turnovers aside, where it just looked like, I don't want to say, they were playing a game that looked so cautious to me, so afraid to make mistakes on offense after the two turnovers, that it was getting frustrating. And it was like, oh, is this going to be how it's going to be the rest of the game? But as Sean McDermott always brings up, complementary football, right? And we heard Christian Benford bring it up after the game, and we heard Josh Allen say, I forgot we weren't getting the ball to start the second half, and in a speech to the team said, we're going to go down and score, we're going to make a stop, and then we're going to go score again. Well, Pittsburgh got the ball first, but ultimately that's what ended up playing out, is they scored, got a stop, and scored again. And then from that point on, Andy, it looked like they were in control. It looked like they were comfortable on the offensive side of the ball, and that game plan started to click. And like you had pointed out, 249 yards on the ground. Amazingly, and Stevie Johnson pointed this out after the game in a roundabout way. I'm kind of making this my own right now. But it looked like offensive football from like the 80s and 90s, where the wide receivers' role was to just go downfield and block. Maybe we'll throw the ball twice a half to the wide receiver.
Yeah, I still have real legitimate concerns. Now, kudos to the Bills on coming down here and running away with this one. No doubt about it. They played that physical brand of football and did what they had to do. Kudos to the offensive line, Aaron Cromer, the running backs, all that stuff. No qualms about that at all. But I still have major concerns about the Bills' passing attack. And it's hard to nitpick after wins, but obviously you can see it. I mean, I think the wide receivers combined for 5 catches in this game. Keon Coleman gets a catch for a touchdown. But James Cook and Dawson Knox and Ty Johnson all had 3 catches apiece. And then, Keon Coleman has 2 and everybody else has 1. So, I mean, there's going to come a time in the season, and you'll see it often. We'll see it at some point, whether it's in the playoffs, if they get there, down the stretch here, that they're going to need the passing attack. And it still just does not seem like they have enough there, or even really the ability to do so. And I think the game plan in this one was to kind of mask that, right? They know that Joshua Palmer's hurt. They know Dalton Kincaid is not out there. They know they've got no Curtis Samuel. He's on IR now. They know Brandon Cooks is in his first game. And Keon Coleman is coming off 2 games where he got the healthy scratch. They know they don't have the horses to go out there and just throw the football all around the field, with a few exceptions. Obviously, we saw it with Baltimore and against Tampa. But that's the exception to the rule. The formula for the Bills to go out there and win is to do exactly what they did in this game. Now, that's all well and good, and it was fantastic the way that the offensive line got rolling. James Cook, Ray Davis, Allen gets in the act. Ty Johnson had a couple of carries. But what happens when that gets shut down? And I still don't know that the Bills have any answers for that.
No, they're very one-dimensional, and they talk about all the time about being two-dimensional on offense, like being 50-50 down the middle with run-pass. And you look at this game, when you go into halftime and only 2 wide receivers have touched the ball, that was concerning. And that changes a little bit later. And again, like you just pointed out with the ground game, but it is a frustrating passing offense to watch right now because it just doesn't function like almost every other offense in the NFL, Andy. Like
Except
I know
the Steelers.
Well, yeah. Touche, yeah. I think Rodgers' quarterback rating was like a 6.2 recording
Yikes.
this. Allen a 70.7. So, but it's just frustrating. It's because Khalil Shakir doesn't touch the ball until late in the game. They have that mind-boggling screenplay. They always run to the wide receiver early in the game. That didn't work. And they're predictable still. I mean, it was basically a run every first down during this game. So it's all getting too predictable.
Yeah, now part of the game plan to my eye, and obviously I'm not sitting in these meetings, I don't know this, but think about what happened last week against Houston. Part of this probably was not wanting to get Josh Allen killed again.
Mm-hmm.
You've got backup tackles in there for you. You just gave up 8 sacks and 12 pressures or whatever it was, hurries last week against Houston, and Josh Allen got the snot kicked out of him. So maybe part of that was, look, we're not going to step back there in 7-step drops. And I think Allen even alluded to this in his post-game press conference that, they didn't want to let TJ Watt tee off on him and get after him. So there's only so much you can do there. We've talked about this so much, and it's going to be a story until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the horses out there to get the job done. I don't think Joe Brady particularly is great at adjusting or switching things up. I think he gets to what he likes, and he just keeps pounding that. Now, look, when that's working, great. But there's going to be a time where it doesn't, and how do they pivot? How do they adjust? Do they go up tempo? Do they try some different things to get guys involved? And maybe that evolves in these last few weeks of the regular season here as they fight for the playoffs and into the playoffs with Brandon Cooks. And if Joshua Palmer comes back and Kincaid comes back, maybe you kind of get some sense of what it's going to be. But right now, the formula is just go out there, try to run the ball, and ask your receivers to block and make an occasional play. And hit the tight end and the running backs, and sometimes Josh has to be Superman too.
Allen not sacked at all in this one. Watt, during his post-game press conference, said he's never seen a game in which they just kept running the same play, which was to Cook.
The Joe Brady special.
Over and over again.
That's what he does.
And they were having success with it, and there was nothing the Steelers could do about it.
Yeah. I mean, so to contrary, the contrarian, the other side, what I was just arguing about the passing game, Joe Brady or whomever is going to sit up there and say, why the hell would we pass the ball? Why would we even try when we're just pounding the rock like this? And to some extent, they're right? Fans are going to say that. Oh, here you are, being and moaning, right, about the pass game when they just ran for a record in this stadium for opponents' rushing yardage.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that. It's hard to sit here week after week and we complain and gripe and discuss the same things. But now after a win, you're like, all right, this is what they need to do. The Steelers supposedly have a decent defense. I'm not convinced, especially after this one. But, they did what they needed to do. Shavers getting out there and blocking. Wide receivers doing what they have to do. Shakir was mentioned in the blocking game. Obviously, the tight ends do a lot of that. So until they get this figured out, and it might not be this season at all, and that's a whole nother conversation, right? This is the formula.
Yeah. In the up and down season, now you have the Bengals, who have been a thorn in the Bills' side, coming up next, and Joe Burrow's back there with them, and they looked a heck of a lot better in their win on Thanksgiving Day than they have a lot. So, I mean, there's still a lot of football left to be played, Andy, but you're right. It's like when we started the postgame show, Stevie Johnson and I said, you want to focus on the positive. This is a nice win, 26-7. Could have been worse. I still think that had Cook not fumbled that ball, this would have been a shutout because the Bills defense came to play and just stuck it to the banged up Aaron Rodgers in that Steelers offense, which aside from Metcalf, I don't even think I know who half the guys are playing for Pittsburgh right now. So yeah, again, you had a good job on both sides of the ball, but your eyes tell you that, this isn't some huge win. Sorry. I mean, it's a huge win, but it's not.
It was massive. I mean, this was a huge game for both teams because if Buffalo had lost this game after Houston beat Indianapolis today, Buffalo would have been on the outside looking in of the top 7 in the AFC playoff picture. As it stands right now, as we record this here at 9:49 at night on Sunday, they're in 7th, but they're in, and they're tied with a bunch of teams. They're 8-4. Colts 8-4, Chargers 8-4, Baltimore leading the North now at 6-6.
Unbelievable.
Jacksonville is 8-4, and then you have Denver at 9-2. Currently, they're playing tonight, and New England 10-2. Looks like they're almost ready to run away with the first seed in this conference right now. The way they're playing, I mean, it's all about just going out and winning each week, doing what it takes to win each week. And I think that sometimes gets lost on all of us who watch this so closely. Mm-hmm. It's like, what is the game plan going to take to win this game? And if you don't see great passing, it's because they don't, partly because they can't, partly because they didn't want to.
Yeah. It just, again, it floors me. We'll see moving forward on how this is going to go. Let's talk about Keon Coleman a little bit, Andy, just because he was back in the lineup, but he wasn't being used that much. But then in a crucial play towards the end of the game, Allen looks more like Josh Allen on how that play developed where he hit Keon Coleman. I believe that was a 4th down. To get that touchdown and show faith in the second-year player who had been sat for 2 games and delivered him the ball, and he came through. Now, I think he had a drop at some point during the game, ultimately finished with just 2 catches. But to me, that's how you rebound after being a healthy scratch for 2 games in a row, that you come out and at least contribute in some way whatsoever and help the team kind of start to pull away in this one.
Yeah, it's all about trust with Keon Coleman, and that goes to on the field and off the field. Of course, off the field, proving to your coaches and your teammates that you're accountable, that you're going to show up on time, be there, do the right things to prepare and get ready. And that's what cost him the previous game when he sat down for missing or being late for a team meeting on a Friday and gets sat down. And that's the third time that we know of that there's been an issue with that. So he's got to regain the trust of the coaching staff. Then there's the trust on the field. I don't think there has been a ton of trust between Josh Allen and Joe Brady and Keon Coleman. I think it just has not been working for whatever reason this season. And he's got to prove it on the field. He's got to be available when his number's called. You said it. He didn't play a ton. Gabe Davis was out there a lot. Shavers was out there a lot. You saw Cooks mixed in on the outside. But when his number was called, he made a play. And Josh Allen drops back, does what Josh Allen does, eludes the rush that was coming in his face, and then steps up and finds Coleman on a huge play and a huge sequence that kind of continued the ball rolling down the hill for the Bills after what the defense had done, the score, interception. You keep moving it down, and then you can build on something there. And the way with this, everybody eats offense, and I don't think anybody's eating. We know that right now, except for the running backs. You're not going to have a ton of chances. So when your number is called, you got to make a play because that's what the Bills' offense is built around. And he did enough. Like, I don't know that they're going to give up on him just yet. Quite frankly, they can't right now because of the injury situation.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The hand is kind of forced right now with, you know,
Joshua. He's going to be able to play and get himself back into it, Kevin.
Right, absolutely. We got to talk about Alec Anderson and Vandermark there, Andy. That was the major concern. 2 starters on the offensive line out. We talked about the game plan to run the ball more in between the tackles for this game. And, of course, the Bills put up numbers, but also Josh Allen kept clean for this one. The passing game, a more quicker strike type of offense the few times they did go to the air. But overall, I thought the backups came in and did extremely well in this one.
Yeah, besides the false starts from Alec Anderson, I think they were really good. Anderson brings a feistiness. Vandermark does too. They both kind of are in a similar role. And I mean, I think it was Anderson said it. We've got the best offensive line in the NFL for a reason, and it doesn't just belong to the starters. So big shout out to those guys, Cromer for getting them ready, themselves, obviously, for doing what they had to do and stepping in, and then, you know, just pounding it down the throats of a Steelers team that traditionally prides itself on not allowing that to happen to them, especially in this building. We know the history of the Steelers and how they want to play, and had to have been demoralizing for the Steelers and their fans to just watch that time and time again. Just like you said, TJ Watt mentioned, that's not something that normally happens to this group, but we'll see what happens with Spencer Brown here and with Dawkins. Obviously, concussions are nothing you want to mess around with in Dawkins' case. And then Spencer Brown dealing with a shoulder. I mean, he kind of played that Houston game with one arm, it seemed like, for a lot of the stretch. So, but it's good that they have some depth there. And then they've got Grable and Chase Lunt as well, who, can be the backups for those guys. And if anybody else goes down.
Defensively, Joey Bosa getting to the quarterback and causing a turnover. Impressive in this one. Bosa, I think the last couple of weeks, ever since he got that wrist injury, I think it was close but no cigar a lot. But in this one, he gets to Aaron Rodgers, puts a hit on him. He loses the ball. Christian Benford there, scoop and score for his first touchdown. And then Benford with an interception on the next play. I mean, this defense, since the adjustments were made against the Texans, has looked really good.
Yeah, and even, to be honest with you, they look pretty good against the Chiefs. They look great against Carolina. Like, I think the defense has kind of turned a corner, especially since Atlanta, right? And there's moments, right? There were moments or even halves. But I think for the most part, we've seen that this defense is starting to improve despite all the injuries out there. And, Terrell Bernard, we know exactly what these injuries are and how difficult it has been for them. I do feel better generally about the defense. Now, this was not a good offense. Rodgers on the last legs of his career. They don't have a ton of weapons, but they did what they had to do. And that play by Bosa to knock Rodgers out of the game temporarily with a bloody nose, and then Benford, Johnny on the spot to scoop it up. And then on the next sequence, he gets an interception and the Bills go down and score. And that really was the turning point of the game.
So
right?
you got to give Bosa like a double pat on the back because he hits Rodgers, fumble, also knocks him out of the game for a series. And then Mason Rudolph comes in and throws an interception. So that Joey Bosa hit actually led to 2 touchdowns, yeah?
Right, in essence, right? And it's the score, stop, score that Josh Allen mentioned.
Right.
Bosa did leave the game at some point with a hamstring, so that is concerning, right? Soft tissue injuries with him. At one point, he was questionable to return. And in my haste of getting downstairs to the media area from the press box, I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't think Sean McDermott had any update on Bosa. So that is concerning given his injury history, and they got to have him out there because they are so banged up on that defensive line. I thought Bosa was really good. Kevin, I thought Shaq Thompson was awesome in this game. I think he's their best linebacker right now.
I was going to bring him up. He led the team in tackles.
I don't know that it's particularly close. Yeah.
Right. You know, Matt Milano, he is also getting up there a bit in age. But I was really impressed with Shaq Thompson out there. 9 total tackles in the game. And he fits the part right now on what they need in the middle of the field.
And it's leadership too, right? And Benford, for as good as he has been in the past, has been playing really banged up, and he just has not been the same player. And I think the leadership that Thompson brings, the ability to play multiple spots on that defense, just the experience and the been there, done that, and the hard-hitting nature and the familiarity with McDermott's system and what he wants. He's been really good. And I think, honestly, Milano has been playing better of late, too. I want to give kudos there. I want to say that Milano has been more noticeable and less out of position and filling the gaps and flying around the way he's supposed to. So with those guys and then Dorian Williams coming in the heavy packages, it seems to be working to a degree right now, and it's been much better of late. Again, moments where the defense is not good, especially against the run, but I do want to shout out those guys in this game.
Yeah, and able to get off the field, too. I know we talk about Pittsburgh and their inept offense, but, I mean, it is Aaron Rodgers. They do have DK Metcalf. This is kind of pops your eyes a little bit. The Bills, with the time of possession, over 42 minutes in this game. So the defense was doing their job of getting the Steelers off the field. Well, the offense had these methodical drives, Andy, that one in the second half where I think Josh Allen ended up scoring at the end. Just seemed like the Bills had the ball the entire start of the second half almost.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bad here in this stadium what the Bills did to the Steelers and the Steelers did to themselves. We joked about this earlier. So that's why Kevin's laughing already. They play Renegade, the Styx song, before the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers fans were booing Renegade. It's an anthem for them. The terrible towels get whipping around.
That's
everybody
like booing
gets
Mr.
up.
Brightside in Buffalo now, right?
Right, exactly. And some Steelers beat reporters, I think, said that was the first time they'd ever heard Renegade booed like that. And then later in the quarter there, just loud chants of fire Tomlin. And that's what it's gotten to here in Pittsburgh because they're sick of it, right? They've just been this middling team. Their offense is never good. Hasn't been since Roethlisberger was in his late prime, almost 10 years ago now, right? But yeah, Steelers fans aren't happy. So sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side, Bills fans, right?
Yeah, you think Tomlinson's running out of time? I mean, he's been there a while. I mean, I always think back to the Bengals under I can't remember his name now.
Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis. Always good enough to get to the playoffs, but never won a game and got knocked out in the first round every year. And eventually the Bengals just had to move on from him.
But then Marvin Lewis would have stretches where he would have like losing seasons. They have not had a losing season with Tomlin. That's the interesting
That's a
part.
good
And
point.
this is probably the most stable franchise in the NFL. They just don't go through coaches, right? When you're going back through the annals, Cower and then the Steel Curtain teams before that. I mean, they just don't go through coaches. It's not the way they work. It might be getting to a point though where they got to do something different, because
Sometimes you just have to make a change, you
yeah,
know?
sometimes the message gets lost. Sometimes new, fresh ideas, voices, innovation. Like, you're watching football from, like you said, like the early 80s here, right? Like,
Right.
it's not fun to watch. Someone said the Steelers were like, you think this is bad? We watch it like this every week, right? This is what it's like every week for them. They hope to win 20-16. That's their goal.
Yeah,
just,
that's tough.
that's no way to live.
Yep, no way. What do we think now, Andy? The Bills moving forward, they still have to chase down the Patriots if they want to grab the East. I think that's a tall task.
Yeah, I don't
that
think
they
that's
would be
going to
able
happen.
to do that. So the Bills are going to be living on this edge of the playoffs or out of the playoffs. Like, you can't make many mistakes moving forward if you want to try and make that postseason run. I was joking around. The Patriots have the Giants on Monday Night Football to end the week. And if there's a team that the Patriots always lose to, no matter what decade you're in, it's the Giants, no matter how bad they are. So the Giants could help you out and hand the Patriots an L, but I just don't see the Bills able to do it. And I still, like I said at the beginning of the season, if you don't have the horses at the wide receiver position to get yourself out of trouble if they decide to just shut down James Cook in the run game, the Bills are screwed. And at least they have a game at home coming up against the Bengals, which the team seems a lot
tougher.
better. But it is.
Yeah.
It's looking tougher.
Look, every game left on the schedule for the Bills could be a problem, right?
Mhm.
Like, you don't expect to lose to the Jets, but the Jets have been playing better. They got a last-second win today. Obviously, you got Philly coming up. You've got the Browns, who aren't good, but their defense is great, and Myles Garrett can certainly wreck a game. Cincinnati, with those receivers, if they get them back healthy, if they get Higgins back and Burrow's cooking now, I mean, Cincinnati still can make the playoffs. They could still win that division.
Yeah, I know.
Those three teams are going to beat each other up here. The Steelers play the Bengals, the Ravens, they all play each other, right? So that's going to be an interesting fight down the stretch here for the AFC North. I don't think the Bills are going to catch New England. I think that ship kind of sailed with the Houston loss. Had they beaten Houston, I would have had a different tune about that. But to be, really 2 games in the loss column down and having already lost to them, you got to finish like 3 games better. I mean, that's not going to happen.
Right.
With New England's schedule.
Teams starting to get eliminated too, Andy, and you have the Chiefs and the Ravens at 500 right now. If there was ever a time for the Bills to just get into the postseason and try and do something there, it looks like this is the season.
Well, that's the thing about all of this. We have talked ad nauseum about the Bills' warts and flaws and problems. But if they were to get in and this playoff started today, do you think that there's a team that they don't think they could go beat? Right? Like, yeah, New England's good, but I think they could beat New England. They might do it again. They might do it for the first time this season.
True.
In a few weeks. Are you scared of Indianapolis? Are you deathly afraid of, especially if the Ravens don't get in, or the Chiefs? Are you deathly afraid of any of those teams?
Jacksonville
Right,
now
no.
atop the AFC South. The Broncos, the Chargers.
The teams with the really good defenses are the ones that scare me for the Bills, because then those teams can shut down James Cook, and then what do you do?
Right. And
that's the issue.
Playing on the road too has become more of an issue to me at this point.
I think they're 12-12 now in their last 24 on the road.
Yeah, the offense just looks a mess when they're away from Highmark Stadium. So,
but just get in, right? Just get in and see what happens.
Right, absolutely.
I have seen a section of fans, and I don't really understand this, and I'm not trying to call anybody out. saying I'd rather not have them get in than to deal with an inevitable early exit and heartbreak over that. I mean, no, just get in, right? Like, it's not like you're tanking and you're going to get a top 5 pick. So you might as well just get in and see what the hell happens.
Yeah. So the Giants' last 2 Super Bowl wins, they were the last team in the playoffs.
Right.
And went
they
on
were
a
the
roll.
6th seed, right?
Yeah. And went on a roll and ended up winning. It's possible. Teams do it all the time. So why would you want your team out of the play? It's not like you're going to get a top 5 pick for not making the playoffs.
It's just how, right. It's just, I think how I haven't recalled Bills fans being this disappointed in their team in this run since they got really good. Let's say since 2020. Like, just even when the runs with Dable and there were some struggles, or the time before Dorsey got fired, I haven't seen them this kind of down on the whole organization. People loved Brandon Beane. People are getting down on Beane because of the wide receiver issue.
Well, he did that to himself.
Right. They're down on Brady. You know, obviously people have always had detractors for McDermott.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even Allen is not playing up to his previous standards. So it's interesting to hear that perspective. But at the end of the day, this AFC is wide open. Nobody's great. I think New England is probably the best team.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, if you play Denver, they crushed Denver last year. It's a different team. I get it. Bo Nix is a year older. That defense is still really good. But just get in and see what the heck happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So up next, Cincinnati Bengals. That game back at Highmark Stadium. And was
it's going to be tough.
And was actually flexed to 1 o'clock from 4:25, which now I think it's one of the bigger games on the schedule with where the Bengals are, you know, now that Joe Burrow's back trying to fight his way in, and the Bills basically having to win to just stay afloat.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow changes the dynamic there, no doubt about it. Their defense is terrible.
Yep.
Bills probably should be able to just do what they did here and run the football. The problem is, if they stumble a little bit or have a couple of those turnovers, there's no margin for error against a team that can score. Since he can still score,
yeah,
and they're going to cause problems in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea will probably be the same, and it's to run the football, keep Burrow and Chase and those guys off the field, and hope your defense is opportune.
Absolutely. We'll see coming up Sunday. Andy and I will be back for another Buffalo End Zone podcast coming your way on Wednesday. After the big media event to get you ready for the game coming up. And I'm sure we'll talk about wide receiver again because it seems like that's been the hot topic. Andy, the last 3 Wednesday podcasts were about the wide receiver position. Either Gabe Davis coming in, Keon Coleman getting sat, Brandon
Cooks.
Enough.
Let's try to do a podcast at some point where we don't talk about that at all. I don't know that it's possible, but let's try to find out.
We'll give it a whirl. We'll be back your way coming up on Wednesday. Get you ready for Bills Bengals. For Andy Young, I'm Kevin Carroll. As always, thanks for joining us.